Okay, got some new welding lead, fellas. So this is 1 gauge, and I got 100 foot of it. So I'm going to make a 50-foot ground clamp and a 50-foot stinger. So it took me a while to figure out where I wanted to put this thing. I've totally revamped my shop. A big part of it is because I wanted to run enough amperage to this welder. It calls for 90 amp fuse or breaker, and so I really wanted to do that. And to do that, I had to revamp some more wiring. And so what I've done is I've put a sub panel in over here. Not quite done with that. Got a little bit more work. And then I've put in new plugs for my other welders. So my MIG, and then my TIG, and the water cooler goes with it. And then there's just a small hypotherm plasma cutter right there. And then of course this beast of a arc welder, which is, man, it's just phenomenal how awesome this thing is. It purrs like a kitten, so I'm excited to be able to weld with it. We're going to take this welding cable and we're going to attach it to the Tweco. I got a 300 amp Tweco stinger and then a ground clamp as well, also rated 300 amps. And what we're going to do, I've got these copper lugs in a couple post vices here by the forge, and so we're going to solder these joints. So we'll fill this up with solder. That's what you're going to see me do. I'll heat it up, and we'll just let little bits of solder kind of melt in there, and it'll be like a little fire pot. And then once that solder is nice and liquidy, we will dip the lead into that. And of course, I'll take off some of the plastic or rubber on it, and that way we'll have a nice solder joint there. So we'll do that now. Alright guys, now we've got these 2 pieces cut in half. I couldn't do that one-handed. I tried out there in the yard, and I've got them both there. You know, it was 100-foot total, so now I've got 50-foot leads. Man, that's really long. You know, 1 gauge is pretty heavy, so and this is overkill even for this. The quality and the power of this welder, this is actually higher than what Lincoln calls for. I think Lincoln calls for, if it's 100-foot or less welding cable, which is, it's 100-foot for mine, in my case. 100-foot or less, they call for, I think, 3 gauge. So this is 1 gauge. So it's quite a bit thicker than the 3. And so, but I'd rather not have as much voltage drop and that type of thing, and so I went a little heavier. But man, that might be something you consider getting just a little bit smaller, maybe compromising and going to 2 gauge if you're like me. I want to do everything bigger and better, and that's not always a good thing because you got to lug that around. Now granted, I got 50 foot because I wanted to be able to, the welder's next to my slider, and I want to be able to pull it out into the driveway and weld a trailer frame or whatever I've got out in the driveway, as well as welding here in the shop. And so 50 foot for me, I may never need it, but I want to know I've got it. So now what we're going to do, we've got the 2 ends soldered, and you know, once you solder those, give those things a good tug. I will wrap. It's not electrical tape. It is electrical tape, but it's not the regular electrical tape. It's kind of like a rubbery it's more rubber, thicker rubber than that, and it kind of adheres to itself. So I will actually put a little, just a small section of this around that joint, just to strengthen that joint and just to keep any contaminants and hopefully maybe some corrosion might try to take place there. I don't know, but anyways, now let's get the ground clamp and the stinger, the electrode holder hooked up. So real simple to do that, and I'll edit a bunch of this. I'll probably edit what I'm saying right now, but maybe not. So first off, let's do the ground clamp. Let's cut this wire. Okay, so quite a bit more. As you can see, that should go deep into that. Might even give her a little twist there. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Now this piece right here, I don't really know the best way to get that secured, but the nut on top, or the bolt on top, that part I can do. So that'll at least get us secure on top. And we'll work on cinching this collar up right here. That might be something, good thing to put in the vise. Cinched her up pretty darn nice, actually. So as you grip this thing with your channel locks, it's a steel band wrapped onto itself. So as you grip it and you turn it, it's kind of coiling in on itself. And I gotta say, it's cinched up on it really, really tight. So I'm impressed. That went really well. Okay. Now this I need an Allen screw for. All right. Okay, so this here has got an Allen screw. Basically, it's a set screw that sets into that. That's what keeps this thing from being able to pull off. So before you put it on, obviously, you want to have that on there. If not, you're going to pull the whole thing off again. So we'll do the same thing. We'll expose this copper cable, and then we'll tuck it up in there. See what it looks like here. Oh, that's nice. Just tightening up my set screw. That'll put pressure on that copper. I'm not going to go crazy torquing it, but I'm going to go pretty firm. Okay, so all I did was back that set screw back out up toward the top, and backed it out so that this isn't going anywhere. You screw it in, then it'll loosen it up. So it's kind of odd. Tighten it to pull this off, loosen it to make it so that it doesn't come off. All right, so we got a stinger and we got a ground clamp. So let's hook this thing up. Well guys, the shop is a mess and I really should clean, but there's no way I can put this together and not strike an arc. Plus, if you're anything like me, you watch a video like this, the final thing is seeing it work in action, so that's what we're going to do now. Alright, we got the setting on DC positive with about 55-60 amps. Okay guys, so let me conclude this video with saying, if you're in the market for an Idealarc, a Lincoln Idealarc 250, man, don't hesitate. It's awesome. Thing strikes a beautiful arc and just smooth, very, very smooth. I'm used to the old Lincoln Buzzbox 225, and you know, they're okay. But even if you get an AC/DC machine, your 225 and 125, I think, is your amperage on that. This has got 300, this Idealarc, 300 amps AC, and on DC side it's got 250 amps, so it's got quite a bit more power, and I just think the arc is just smoother overall.